Well, I competed pretty hard to be the coach, just so you know, because I just wanted to make sure that I stood up for all of our coaches and the players and the things that we'd accomplished, and not so that we could be the coach still, but so that we could continue to have a chance to be successful and keep the organization going. That's what I was fighting for.
Pete Carroll from earlier in the week, that was the big surprise, and it was painted by the Seahawks as amicable, and then Pete Carroll goes into the press room with the logos on the screen behind him, and he says, I wanted to stay. And the Seahawks decided it was time. And, Peter, my big takeaway from it was this team isn't getting sold anytime soon. Part of Paul Allen's will and estate plan is that his sports properties will be sold and the money be donated to charity, and there's been a question of when it's going to happen. I thought Pete Carroll would just stay until Jody Allen sold the team. This tells me she's going to hang on to it for a while because it makes it hard to go out and get a good coach if you say, oh, by the way, we're going to sell in 2 years.
Yeah, and I also think, Mike, that after a while, you have to look at your team and you have to look at your organization. And look, Pete Carroll is a ball of energy, even at the age of 72. And I don't have any specific criticism of Pete Carroll per se. However, I remember, a year or so ago, I was out at their training camp, and this was before the 22 season. And I remember before I went out there, I was talking to an agent of a player there. And I said, what do you think about the team? And what do you, blah, 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 blah. And this agent said to me, he said, I think you can only hear Pete Carroll's stuff for so long. And when does that message begin to get stale? When does the cheerleader stuff and Competition Wednesday and all that? And I don't say that it is stale. I'm saying that I think for some people, that stuff just goes right over their head. And the one other thing I would say about the Seahawks, Mike, is that I like the formation of their team. I think they have a good young team right now. I think they probably have to get a new quarterback, and they're going to be in position with a rich draft this year. John Schneider has proven he picked Russell Wilson 75th overall. John Schneider has proven that he knows how to scout quarterbacks and can do that. But I think I look at Pete and what has happened over the last couple of years, and I look at a guy who, even on the defensive side of the ball, Mike, this is a team that was, I think, 30th and 29th the last 2 years on defense in the NFL. That's Pete Carroll's stock in trade. And they fell this year to 21st in overall offense. So I don't know. I understand that a lot of people are saying, my God, Pete was great, ball of energy, still in contention right into the last week, all that. I don't know. If I were the owner of that team, I would think to myself after the last, say, 3 years, what are we doing here? Are we really making progress to being the next great team of the Seattle Seahawks? I think what they did is pretty understandable.
Well, and I think this went off the rails at the end of Super Bowl 49 with the fateful pass versus run decision. They eventually had to clear out any of the veterans who were unable to accept that play, and I think it was a cloud that hung over the team. There was a reset of sorts after the 2017 season, and then without Russell Wilson. And look, they made it to the playoffs last year when no one expected them to. This year, there was an expectation that they were going to get there, and they didn't. There's always been a sense that Pete Carroll ran everything. I want to know the story behind the scenes as to how this all came to be. Who planted the seed for Jody Allen? Did she think of it on her own? Is there some executive at Vulcan Corporation which handles the massive and widespread Paul Allen holdings? John Schneider survives and emerges stronger from this. There's just a lot of stuff there. And the bottom line, Peter, Pete Carroll doesn't strike me as a guy who's going to walk away. He's in the mix, I think. He's got to be considered for one of these other jobs. I don't know which one. But if Bill Belichick is going to be a guy who lands on his
I'd be
feet somewhere
surprised
else,
if
why
Pete
not
gets
Pete
a
Carroll?
job. I'd be surprised if Pete gets a job. It's one
Why?
thing. Look, he'd be coaching next year at age 73. And it's not like he's coming off a string of great performances or great teams.
Sounds like Bill
I don't
Belichick
know,
to me.
Mike. But Bill Belichick also has a much richer, deeper pedigree than Pete Carroll has. So, and again, look, I'm not saying I'd hire either guy. I mean, the only way I'd hire Bill Belichick is if he would accept a general manager who has either significant power or a lot more power than Belichick has ever had in a front office guy before. And I would want to know right off the bat, who are you going to hire on your offensive staff? That's the one thing about Belichick, Mike. Look at that staff. Is anybody running to hire all their guys? They got the smallest staff, right, in the NFL, or one of them, clearly. Right. And, I mean, are there guys on that staff where people are rushing to hire? I doubt it. You know, I maybe Gerard Mayo. I don't know if he becomes a free agent. But I don't know. You tell me one owner right now who would say, I want to put my next 3 to 5 years in the hands of Pete Carroll. I don't see it.
Dean Spanos.
I don't see it.
Bring him back to L.A.
I mean,
bring him back to L.A. Bring Pete Carroll back to L.A.
I guess so. Okay, all right.
And
if
think
Dean
about,
Spanos
let's
misses
compare.
out, if Dean Spanos misses out on Jim Harbaugh, Bill Belichick, and whoever else, okay, I can see that. I doubt Pete Carroll would be his first choice.
Well, I doubt it as well, but here's the problem. When you start scratching the surface of the Chargers, you get to the smell of dysfunction pretty quickly. Having Justin Herbert covers a lot of that up. But the people who do the deep dive and understand the Chargers organization and where the flaws are, that's when the alarm bells start to go off a little bit. And so if you have Harbaugh do his due diligence and he's got a bunch of choices and Belichick's got choices, I could see them saying no thank you to the Chargers. If that's his only option, it takes him back to L.A., it pairs him up with Justin Herbert, and he can be the exact opposite of Brandon Staley, very raw. Maybe that's what they need, the kick in the ass, the jolt to the system that Pete Carroll can bring. Maybe that's what that team is missing, because we know he'll do it even at age 73. The guy's incredible. You see him on the sidelines jumping around, throwing the football. It's a transformation. He moves kind of slowly away from a stadium, but it's like the fountain of youth. He's Ponce de Leon, baby, when he walks into a stadium. So maybe that's what the Chargers need. Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.